Hey everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how you can take apart and service your Nitrocat 1200K half-inch impact gun. Now this is going to be specific to this gun, but the process is probably similar for other guns, so if you watch this video maybe it gives you an idea on how to do it for your gun. What you're going to be needing is a bit driver called a Torx driver, T-O-R-X. This one is a size T25, it's kind of star-shaped. This is for the 4 bolts in the back, and probably the one in the middle is a different size. You're also going to be needing an oil container or an oil pan where you can capture the old oil so you can recycle it later. This gun uses 5W30 motor oil that you put in your car. That's specific to this gun. Your gun may use grease or another type of oil, so check what type of oil or grease it uses so that you can replace it later on. I also recommend that you go to your manufacturer's website, whatever that may be, and look and see if they have a manual you can download and print out. This is called an exploded view. I got this off the Nitrocat website, and it shows you every single part that the gun has inside and how it fits in relation to the other parts around it. So if you get lost trying to put it back together, you refer to your diagram and it gives you an idea on where the part sits, you know, in front of this part or in back of this part, whatever. It also has a list of part names and part numbers, maybe just in case you need to order a part, it breaks or you lose it or something from the manufacturer. Alright, so let's get started. I'm going to start off with removing the 4 bolts in the back, and then we'll worry about this middle one a little bit later. So you want to take your driver and start loosening them up. Once you start loosening them up a little bit, the body will start to separate from itself. These two pieces will start to separate because there's a spring inside that's creating tension. So while you're loosening it, you want to put it above your oil container so that any oil will once it starts to separate, the oil will start to leak out. So you want it to fall into the container. So you want to loosen them up slowly and then look for the oil and then make sure it falls into your container. Once you loosen up the 4 bolts in the back, you can go ahead and start to separate the body just like that. I would recommend that you point the silver part downward so that the oil will pull down here and not kind of spill out so much. So once you loosen up the 4 bolts, that's the only thing holding it together, and then you can slowly just separate the body. And you'll notice that it comes out in 2 halves. So you can put this half aside for a moment. This part should be full of oil, and so you want to hold it with your thumb so it doesn't splash when you dump it out into your container. Once you feel that enough oil has dripped out, you can start taking this apart. So I'm going to go ahead and take this part out first. This is called the hammer cage, just this one solid piece. Take this apart, and you'll notice that everything fell apart inside. All the pieces are kind of fell apart inside, so it doesn't really matter. You just take everything out because you're going to put it properly back together anyway. You'll notice the little hammer pins, and there's a little ball bearing in there. You want to be careful and not to lose that or drop it. So here comes the anvil, and there's the 2 hammer pins. Kind of hard to get it out. And then here's the ball bearing. This one is important. You don't want to lose it, so what I do is I just put it in here in my spring so I make sure that it doesn't roll away. And also last, you have this metal washer, also called a spacer, and you just put it aside also. So here's the inside of the casing. I think this is called the hammer case, 2H. Yeah, the hammer case. So in here, this was all filled up with gunk on my gun, so I went ahead and got some clean rags and I cleaned it out, and now it's pretty nice and clean. So take this out and then you can clean these parts. Next we're going to focus on this half. So next you want to remove this red gasket. If you're just cleaning it out, this gasket will be reused, so you want to take it off very slowly. Mine is already mangled just a little bit. It pinches in between the gray and the silver parts, so it's a little bit chewed up, but once you put it on and you tighten it up, if it doesn't leak, it's fine. As long as it's not broken and torn up too bad, it should work again. So this one is still pretty good. Okay, next you take off this piece here. It just slides right out. It's called the front end plate. And it's just one solid piece, and it also has an O-ring that goes around here. So you want to inspect that, and that looks good anyway. And just set that aside. And in here, this piece is called the rotor. It's all one solid piece. So set that aside also. And in here, you saw that it fell apart. These are called the blades. So you want to take those out. There's 6 of them. Just like that. So next we're going to be removing this cylinder part. This is called a cylinder. So in order to remove this, we have to go to the back and remove this last bolt that we didn't get to in the beginning. So we remove this. So once you remove the little bolt with your driver from the middle of the selector dial should just pop right out. So you can just wiggle it until it falls right out. Next, you want to go ahead and hold on to the cylinder with your hand and then push it from this side with your thumb, so it should all fall out as one solid piece. Once you do that, it separates, and you can set this aside. Inside there's a ring in here that's kind of like a gasket type. You could take it out and maybe clean it out if you want. Kind of looks like this. You can set that aside. And in here you'll notice there's another ring. This one's actually made of, I think, metal. Alright, so next there's 2 pieces right here. So there's another little ball bearing that I forgot to mention. You want to take, when you take this out, you want to take it out in one solid piece. If not, there might be a ball bearing that gets stuck in here. It's a little steel ball. I keep calling it ball bearing. But where it is if you pinch both sides with your thumb and your finger here, you could start to slide it out just little by little, and you could actually see the little steel ball right there. So you want to be careful not to lose it. So you start to take it out slowly. There's the little steel ball. So it's very, very small, and you don't want to lose it. And all it does is when you select either your forward or your reverse, it just keeps the dial in place. So the little notch and the steel ball keeps the dial in place. So when you put it in forward or reverse, it won't just move up on you. It'll stay in place when you select it. So you want to take your little steel ball and you want to put it, I put it over here in the spacer so it doesn't roll away. You don't want to lose it. And so you could just take this entirely out. You'll notice there's another O-ring in here, so you want to inspect that, and this one still looks good. And in here you'll see there's a ball bearing right here, so you can clean this out if it has any gunk or any residue. There's also a square shaped O-ring right here towards the bottom of the cylinder. This one actually seals up with the trigger. When you press on the trigger, it's supposed to seal up right in here. So you want to inspect this one and make sure that it's in good shape, that it's not broken up or torn up. And this one still looks good, so it should seal up fine still. When you buy, if you buy a rebuild kit, it should come with brand new O-rings for it all, as well as this one right here. But if you're just cleaning it out and you don't need a rebuild kit, you want to be careful with all the O-rings, so when you put them back together, everything seals up and there's no leaks of either oil or the air later on. So after you've cleaned off every part and it looks nice and clean, comes the fun part, which is reassembling everything back together. Now if you have any questions about your particular gun, maybe a specification question, it might be a good idea to contact your manufacturer through their website. Maybe there's an email address you can get. That's what I did, and I got a reply back from Mr. Robert Maas. He's a repair technician at Aircat. He gave me a very detailed answer to my question, so I was very happy with their customer service. He answered very quickly and very detailed, so I was very happy with that. So the first part we're going to start reassembling is going to be the cylinder. So we want to get this out of the way so we can put our steel ball in place so that we don't have to deal with it a little later. So even then it starts to roll away here. Okay, so you want to put it inside. So we start with this piece here. You want to place it back in, and you want to line up there's only one hole right here where the little steel ball goes in. There's a little spring inside. So you want to line up this hole with one of these notches. So these three notches are the forward and this one's the reverse. So you just want to line it up with one of them. It doesn't matter which one. And you just want to slide it in place just little by little. Just like that. So just line it up. And then you take your little steel ball and then just put it in the little hole with the spring. Just like that. And then you just press it down just a little as you push this part in. So that part's inside. It's good to go. So the way it works is when you have your selector dial, you put it in place and then you just put it in forward. The little steel ball goes in the notch and it holds it in place. Without that steel ball, there's nothing to hold the dial place in place. It'll just move around maybe. So that part's good. Okay, next we're going to take the body here, and we want to put this gasket type thing. You'll notice there's marks on the back, maybe from a logo or something, so you want that part to go down and you want the ridges to face up. So just throw that in there and maybe move it in place just like that. And take your little other ring, just drop it in there. This one actually goes in the middle. It goes right here. So that's in place also. So now you're ready to put this back in. So this, you want to have your this part facing up, and you want to make sure that the square O-ring faces down toward the trigger. So it just slides right in. Also, you want to make sure that you line up these side notches. Let's see, better shot. These side notches will line up with the bolts coming in. So it's very, very easy. It just slides one way in. And once it slides back, just like that, just take a look at the back. And then put in your selector dial, just in place, just like that. And then you can go ahead and put in your bolt and tighten it down. So once you tighten this down, you can go ahead and start reassembling the inside pieces. So the first thing you take is your rotor, once it's clean, and you'll notice that it has splines on one side and it's smooth on the other. The smooth side goes down first, the splines point up, so it just goes in just like that. And then you take your 6 blades. Now you'll notice that they have a little notch or a little indentation in them. So it doesn't matter which way you put them in. If you put them in like this, or if you put them in like this with the notch facing towards the front, it doesn't matter according to Robert Moss. That was one of the questions I had. But it doesn't matter which way they go in as long as the round part goes towards the center with the splines. So round part towards the spline, just like that. They like to alternate them at the factory, I was told, but it doesn't really matter. So just put those in, all 6 of them. So after all the blades are in comes the front end plate. So you want to slide this part. You have the 4 holes. Those have to be pointing towards the top of the gun, and they go in like that. So it just goes right in. Also, it has ridges or notches on the side of it. Again, these line up with the bolts. It just slides right in place. Line it up with the bolts. Next, if you have any bolts still laying out, I would put them back in right now, just like that. And then you want to put your gasket, the red gasket. It has a flat side and then it has a side with ridges. So you want the ridged part to go towards this part and the flat side to go up against the silver case. So I want to put it in the exact same position with, I guess, the little torn piece towards the trigger. So just carefully put it back in place, just like that. And then you're done with this half, so you could set this half aside. Next comes the assembly of this, which is called the hammer cage. And you take this piece called the cam foundation, and you'll see that it has a bigger side and a smaller side. You want the bigger side to go in first towards the bottom. So you just drop it in place, and if it doesn't fall in place, you just move it around with your finger till the big side is nice and flat on the bottom. Next, you take your steel ball and you drop it in place. Now that one fell in the middle. You don't want it in the middle, right there in the hole. You want it to actually fall right there in the little, what is it, like a moat or a little track that's created. So the little steel ball there is in the right position. Now the next part is assembling the cam. This is the cam, and you notice it has a little pointy side and a side edge here. The pointy side goes in first. Now this side edge is supposed to hook up with the hammer pins like this. So when you put it all in, it's all supposed to go in as one piece. So the two pins go, one here and the one on the other side. It's all supposed to slide in as one unit. So this is the trickiest part to the to reassembly, but I think the easiest way is to put the hammer pin in first. The side edge, the one with the notch here, goes in first. So you just kind of put it just partially in. Take your cam with the pointy side down, and you kind of hook it on, and you hold it in place, making sure that the hammer pin doesn't fall down. Just like, see, it's very tricky. So you try it again. Hammer pin. Take your cam. Hold it in place. And take your other hammer pin, and then you slide it in the hole here, and you hook it onto the cam, and then you slowly move it down. And oh, I got it. So it fell in place, and that's how it's supposed to look. If you look down in there, I know the camera doesn't really get in there, but you can see the edge slides right into the hammer pin on one and then on the other. So it fell in just like it was supposed to. And when you move it up and down, it moves up and down as one unit. So that's exactly what you want. Next, you want to put in your spring and your anvil. Now I forgot to mention, but the anvil is splined, so you can see that it has splines in it, and one of the edges, let's see if it'll focus, has a different, right here it's keyed, which means that this spline is wider than the other splines. So that means that this spline can only go in one way. So if you look at your cam, the cam has splines on the inside, and right there is the I guess the keyed part, the big notch right there, which lines up with the bigger opening right here. So it's very easy, very obvious once you look at it where it's supposed to fall. So first you take your spring, it doesn't matter which way, and you drop it in so that it falls right in the middle. Then you take your anvil, and then you just line up the big space here with the bigger spline in there. So once you see it, it's very obvious. You just drop the anvil, and then you can just slowly turn it, and then you could actually feel it fall in place. So, and you could actually hear it just a bit. Right there, it fell. See, you could actually feel it fall in place. So that's what you want. And the last piece here is your spacer, your washer or spacer. You just put it right in the middle there, and this part is done. This half is done. So almost finished here. So you want to take your other half that we assembled earlier, and you notice that the rotor that we put in earlier has splines in it. Now taking it up, you can see the splines, and they're all the same spline. So this one is not keyed, and you don't want to turn this upside down, but on the bottom it's all splined. This piece, the hammer cage, is splined, so you could just put it right on top, and it just falls right into place without a problem. Next, you take your case here, and you see that there's a set screw. This set screw you can take out with an Allen key, and once you take that out, you could actually pour in the oil, fresh new oil in there once you finish tightening everything up. So you want this set screw to be towards the trigger. You don't want it up, but you want it down. So this slides right in, just like that. And you just set it down up against the red gasket. Make sure that it falls nice and flat on there, and you'll probably have the bolts coming right off the bottom, but that's okay. So you just take your bit driver and then you start tightening these up. So I've tightened them up just a little bit, but before you do it all the way, you want to make sure that this red gasket falls nice in place in between these two pieces. So you want to check it all the way around to make sure that it falls nice and flat and that it's not pinched in any way. So once you see that it is falling in correctly, then you can start tightening these down. You don't want to have it pinched or not fall in the right place, because it will leak either air or oil once you start using it. So once you tighten down all four bolts in the back, you're pretty much finished with assembly. So you don't want to over tighten them, just want to get them nice and snug, because you don't want to also round out the little holes with your driver. So just nice and snug is enough. So next, you want to go ahead and remove your set screw there, which kind of looks like this, with your Allen key. And once you remove that, it creates a hole where you can, if you have a tiny little funnel, you could put in your motor oil there. It takes about 1 ounce of 5W30 motor oil. That's what I was told by the technician. Or there's also a picture right here on the side of the gun. It has a little oil symbol. So I guess you could also put it inside the fitting if you wanted to, but I find it easier to just use this set screw. So once you remove that, you can put in your oil and then put the set screw back in. So that's how you can service and take apart your Nitrocat 1200K. The process is probably very similar to other type of guns, so all you would need there is just a little patience in taking it apart, maybe downloading one of those diagrams to see how it all fits together. You would want to take it apart if you feel that your gun is not as strong as it used to be before. You feel like it's lost power, or it's weaker, or it struggles more to take off nuts and bolts and whatever. So what happens is maybe the air compressor you're using is not so efficient at filtering out debris and dirt and maybe even moisture. Eventually that makes it into the tool that you're using. So you want to take it apart and look inside, because that dirt and debris interferes with the moving parts inside, and it even slows them down. And when that happens, the gun will lose power, or whatever tool you're using will lose power. So that's it. Hopefully you found something helpful and useful in the video. If you did, comment below or give me a thumbs up. Thank you for watching.